pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A roll call, please.
Okay. Mrs. Eckert?
Here.
Mrs. Goebel?
Here.
Dr. O'Sherrick?
Here.
Dr. Perbola?
Here.
Mr. Farr?
Here. Thank you. Superintendent's remarks.
Good evening, board, Tiger community, and our transportation contractors and drivers. We reconvene this evening, board, to continue our discussion from last month. As everyone may recall, we were talking about a possible compensation change, a change to how our transportation contractors are paid, how they're compensated. A few ideas were presented. The board guided me and my team to focus on presenting a plan that was based on mileage reimbursement rates, thus providing it an equitable plan for all contractors. I look forward to that continued conversation this evening. Next month, we will have a preliminary budget for the 25-26 school year that'll be presented to the board for approval. As I've said over a few times over the last couple of meetings, next year's budget will be a challenge. And there are significant cost increases coming in fixed and required line items and fixed costs. That being said, I firmly support the need to examine transportation contractor compensation. The state hasn't changed the formula for transportation. It hasn't changed in over 50 years. Our contractors and drivers are a very caring group of people that provide a valuable service to our students. They do an outstanding job keeping our kids safe and everyone's kids safe. With that being said, I encourage the board to keep our upcoming budget challenges in mind as we have this discussion this evening. Thank you very much, Director Farr.
Thank you. Now it's time for public comments. Any taxpayer, resident, or employee of the district or contractors allowed to speak. 4 minutes. Does anyone have anything on agenda items? Anyone want to speak now? Don't all rush. Okay, we'll move on. Only item of business, really. Chuck, you want to lead off on that?
Yeah, so the numbers we ran last time that we discussed openly in the last Transportation Committee meeting have remained the same. There's no difference. We did add 2 new numbers in case we were looking at some sort of tiered system with the mileage. We added a 28, what it would cost, or the cost of the district at 28 cents if we added that into the formula, and 29 cents. So if we're looking at all buses, current fleet, and we talked about our fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers that we have to look at efficient busing if we're going to increase our cost internally and create more money within the budget to pay our contractors, which again, like Mr. Doherty said, we believe they deserve. If we're looking at adding 28 cents to the mileage formula, it would be an increase of $170,247.31 on our current fleet. 29 cents would be $204,448.24. The remainder, the 30, 31, 31.5, and 32, all are still the same with the numbers with the current fleet. So there's some things we talked about. We felt that the mileage, adding the numbers in the mileage was equitable because we do have some buses that are already almost at full capacity. We have others that are low. We're a challenging district due to the size of our geographical area and how much miles we run on a daily basis. So we thought it was the most equitable way to help our contractors out. Some of the other things that we did talk about, again, were the radios and the cameras. The radios, I will recommend we still hold control over. They have to link up to our towers and our FCC license, so I think we should maintain that. We threw the numbers out with provision quotes with the cameras. Again, if we're going to budget an additional $150 to $200-something thousand, I really think we need to look at the cameras and if we control that or if we don't control it. If we don't control it, the 2 main things are with language in our contracts would be simply they have to have a working camera with a scan disc that we can pull in case we need to see video. And we would have to look at the locations at which they're embedding cameras in the buses. And then some other things, again, we talked about the gas. The contractors can become tax exempt to apply for it. Right now, we pay for it and they reimburse us. So really it's just more office time on Karen doing the work, but we do that currently. We do, regardless of what decision needs to be made, or the board decides to make, we got to look at then the language within our contracts. And then again, we have to look at the efficiency of our bus routing and our ridership, how many kids we have on each bus, and that fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers. And then another thing to consider is the state law with any kid within 1.5 miles, necessarily like our kids in town, don't need busing. I mean, that would reduce our ridership also.
Okay, thank you. When you talked about a tiered system, really mean like a phased-in process of starting with 28 cents per mile the first year, 29 the second year, and 30 cents the third year?
Yeah, we could tier it however way you wanted to, or however way we want to. We looked at tiering it at one point with bus capacity. We were talking about 90, 93, 95, 100%, but again, you already have some buses that are close to 100% capacity, so that wasn't equitable to all the drivers. If we look at a tiered system, again, we do have all those numbers, and we can certainly start at 28 and tier it and continue to budget. Year one would be the biggest hit to the budget, even though Mr. Doherty did express it's a tough year financially for us, and we're going to start off in a pretty big hole. Again, I stress on our current fleet of buses. If we condense routes or we drop buses, it does change. But on our current fleet, if we started with 28 cents, we're looking at budgeting this year, extra in transportation, $170,247.31. Now that would be in the budget again the following year, but we'd have to look at the increase then to 29 cents. So it would be roughly 34,000 extra then the following year. Again, 34, 35,000 the following year till we get to where we want to be. But again, that mileage increase is the most equitable for the drivers.
Okay.
And I think just, again, doing our responsibility to our taxpayers, and I mean, due to declining enrollment, I mean, we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't look at bus route efficiency. I've been here for now, this is my third full school year. We're down probably 300 or 400 students just in that time. And in the last decade to 12 years, I mean, we're down about 1,000 students. So we're going to have to continually look to see that, not just with transportation, but across the board, that we're being efficient with everything we're doing. So with declining enrollment, for instance, we're graduating our biggest class that's left at Tunkhannock. Right now, we have about 184, 185 graduates in this year's class. Right now, kindergarten enrollment is ongoing, but at this point for kindergarten next year, we have 116. I'm hopeful that we could get that number upwards of 150, but that still remains to be seen. I don't foresee a 180 coming in. So we, no doubtedly, will have less students, next year also. When you look on the enrollment numbers in tonight's board packet that you'll see, and it's online, everybody can see it. Our enrollment right now this month is 1,964. I think that's an all-time low for our school district. We're shrinking. I mean, this is a norm nationwide. It's happening to rural communities, throughout our state. And with that comes less riders, which may produce less buses. I mean, that's just something we always have to, re-examine. And that's something we're probably going to have to re-examine every year.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, we did run some models where there was, buses with 5 less school buses, right? And believe me when I tell you this is a draft, this is a draft. There's a lot of pieces moving here, and what it would do to ridership and numbers. It's feasible. With 5 less buses, the one model we ran was everything would be under an hour except for one bus, which would be 70 minutes, yeah. Assuming every single child rides the bus, which is, quite frankly, a rarity. Very rare, especially when we're in the middle of a sports season, like spring sports seasons. There was hundreds and hundreds of kids yesterday outside doing practices. Like our ridership is typically reduced on those days. So we're looking at with the reduction of 5 buses, the longest bus route being 70 minutes. Now, that's something ultimately that we could certainly make a recommendation to the board, but the board and the Transportation Committee would have to approve and then move forward for, for a vote. So if, like for instance, if we did go to 5 less buses, the approximate savings, it doesn't cut that much. I'll be frank.
Got it.
Instead of 170,000 at 28 cents, for instance, for next year, it would be 147,000. So it doesn't go dollar for dollar because those students go to a different bus, which then ups the reimbursement for that bus. So it would produce a savings of $22,000, almost $23,000 in the first year, a savings of 27 in the second year, and a savings of 31.5 in the third year at 28, 29, and 30 cents. So that's something that the board may want to consider, but we would just need guidance, moving forward on really how you want to move. Like I said, we work very diligently. I really feel that we're good with budgeting. We work very hard to stay within our approved budget. We work very, very hard to come under our approved budget every year. We examine every purchase. And certainly, if the board makes a suggestion with this, we'll make it work one way or the other. But there are some difficult decisions that are going to come into, to a recommendation moving forward.
Thank you. Any board members have any comments or questions? Bill?
Yeah,
Kerry?
yeah. I have. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, Dr. Perbola.
So my question is, the kids, the students that walk to the school, I'm assuming the town kids mostly walk to the middle school, or the intermediate, and the high school.
Right now we have rostered the town kids K through 4 on buses. Kindergarten, first, second, third, and fourth grade are rostered on buses. And that's been like that, right, Karen, for like 6 or 7, 8 years? Consolidation,
Okay.
Dr. Perbola.
Okay, but I'm assuming though the middle school kids and the high school kids that are in town, they're walking, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're driving.
Well, but I'm saying we're not responsible to bus them.
Correct.
The second point that I'd like to make, I know we're talking about money, obviously it's important. I guess the cameras being transitioned to the bus owners, obviously our contractual language they'd have to meet certain requirements for the cameras if we're gonna switch them over to the bus contractors.
Yeah, there'd have to be language in there, most likely related to where we want cameras located on the buses. And again, making sure if we pull a scan disc, it works. And if not,
Okay.
that would,
And I'll tell you that, the company we use is, which is Provision. I mean, there are some things that those cameras do that, are far and above. What if we were going to ask our contractors to fulfill that obligation? It would have to be workable cameras that are readable in our computer, right? We're not going to say it has to be a Provision camera. It's got to be readable, through QuickTime or through, something on the computer. So as long as we could read it, that would be acceptable.
And the reason I'm saying that is it just dovetails into the safety of the kids. I mean, I know it's important for money, but we want to make sure we're not cutting any corner for the safety of the students and the driver, of course.
Right. So for instance, with the tiered system, so if it got tiered in so next year, instead of 23 cents a mile, it was 28, and the following year 29, and the following year 30. I mean, really, it equates to, in year one, either 170 or about 148.
Okay. And then the subsequent years, it goes up about 30,000 per year?
Approximately, yeah, 34,000.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And all that is all on local taxpayers' dime, because that is above the formula from the state for reimbursement.
Correct.
The state, Dr. Perbola, is currently still at 23 cents in the formula.
Right, and that's what we talked about, trying to come up with a solution to support our bus contractors because they've asked and they provide a service for us, a good service. So I hear you.
Correct. I mean, truly, nothing they've asked for has been outrageous. It really hasn't. It's just, how do we pay for it? That's really the discussion, and what direction does the board want us to go? But I thought that their request actually was very reasonable.
Agreed.
And one other point, I know, Paul, you mentioned about cutting back on some of the routes or number of buses. I know the community is obviously, and you mentioned it, when we did the consolidation, the time on the bus for the students.
Right.
I think I think you already looked at it and you mentioned it. I think, we want to be clear to the community. We're not trying to increase the time for the students. We're just trying to, as Chuck said, have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure our bus routes are efficient.
Yeah,
Right. We want to bring information forward to the board. We want to lay out multiple options. So if the board decides, hey, we want to move ahead with this rate and keep all buses, certainly that's the board's discretion. If the board says, yep, let's see what we can do and reduce a couple runs, that's something that we'll dive back into. But I mean, I thought it was very important to bring, multiple options to the discussion here this evening.
Well, I agree, Paul, with the declining enrollments. I mean, we have to critically look not only at transportation, but everything.
Everything.
So
That's
I'm in
correct.
favor. I'm in favor of looking at the efficiency of bus routes, and if we have to drop bus routes, I'm in favor of looking at that critically.
again, just, Dr. Bull, we have buses, occupancy, bus capacity over in the 70s with 20-something kids on it. So I think we have a fiduciary responsibility to continue to look at it annually with our declining enrollment to make sure we're efficient in how we roster our buses.
Yeah, no, thanks for the work, gentlemen, and your team. I appreciate it.
Does the state require that every student,
mic on?
does the state require that every student that's that's outside the walking distance has to have a seat, or is it you have to provide them if they need a seat? What's the state requirement?
So depending on the age, it will change.
It doesn't.
It
The
doesn't.
state doesn't require it.
It doesn't require that you have to bus your kids
Oh,
at
no.
all? Oh,
No,
Outside the mile and a
no,
half.
you don't have to bus at all.
you don't have to.
There's no state requirement to provide
In a
transportation.
rural area? Oh,
Nope. It's not a requirement. If you do engage in transportation services, then you have to meet certain requirements. But you could elect not to have any transportation services.
So it's an all or nothing.
oh. The reason I was asking was I didn't know if there was a way to, when you were looking to optimize routes, to figure, there are kids that probably are rostered on a bus but don't ride it, and then you could,
I'm sure.
and so I thought maybe there was, but I don't know if that's within the guidelines of what we're allowed to do.
No, but for instance, we were talking today, and again, we were really getting in the weeds, even down to individual students, because we were talking on the other side of 29. Primary center kids are getting bused that live on the other side of 29.
Yeah.
It takes longer for
Yeah.
them to get to school and get home than it would if they walked. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, they're very young, or if they were, it's.
And it's important to note, we line item budget $10,000 a year with the borough to pay for crossing guards.
For what? Oh, for crossing guards?
Crossing guards, and then
Yeah.
we have kids that are
Yep.
being bused that live right next to schools.
Yeah, okay. So, I just wanted to understand that.
I would and granted, this discussion is very important. It really is. This is something that I would hope we could vote on next month. Certainly, I don't want to pressure the board. That's not my intent. But with the preliminary budget, if there is an increase that the board would like to consider, I would like to have that in the preliminary budget that's going to be presented. Because right now, there's not, right? I don't have an increase for transportation in the draft that I've been working on.
So are you looking for a recommendation from tonight's meeting?
Yes, either here or during the meeting when we talk about the committee meetings, but or just sharpen our focus. Or direct me to say, hey, we're not sure about the reductions yet, but plan on 28 cents or plan on 30 cent, like something that gives me at least that I could build something in if it needs to be built in.
But you won't really be able to finalize the bus routes until you know the final
Correct.
enrollment.
These are all estimates. I'm going to be honest with you because, I mean, without knowing what our full extent of kindergarten is going to look like next year, to say these are exact is just not true, but they're pretty close.
I would say they're close, yeah. They're pretty close.
Okay. Does anyone have any suggestions for a recommendation?
I'm not actually on this committee, I was just asking a
I know
question.
you're
I don't, whoever, I think Laura is.
The other two are on Zoom. So Dr. Pavola and Carrie, do either one of you have a particular recommendation that you want to make?
Well, Carrie, you want to speak up first? It's up to you.
No, that's okay. The only two comments I have right now are, as we're looking at this, I think it's important to note that there are stops that are so close together that I think they could be combined, one, and two, I think we should look at a way, my daughter's a driver, why not have her opt out of having a seat or something like that if it's possible. But I don't know about a recommendation at this time.
I mean, my recommendation would at least be to phase in the mileage increase, starting with 28 cents in the coming year, the 29 cents in the following year, and then get up to the 30 cents. That would kind of help us out because it's going to be a difficult budget year for us. Soften the blow a little bit for the school district, while still getting it up to where the probably much better for the contractors. And you've been recommending that we move the camera responsibility to the bus drivers, correct?
I'll defer to Dr. Suppan on that.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to increase $170,000, $200,000 to take on the extra cost with the cameras is probably not doable, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Being completely transparent. But again, I want to stress the stipulations, if it goes to the contractors, it doesn't have to be provision. There's much, they just have to meet certain requirements like working cameras and readable discs. There's much cheaper options out there.
So they can go look for something that will work.
Just has to work
As
and have
long
a
as
disc.
it's compatible
Yep.
to be able to be read by the district.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then
Like
the
I
other-
said, the radios we want to manage, that's our license. That's our FCC license, so I would prefer if we manage the radios.
Okay, and the third item would be, right now, bus drivers get the gas at Ace Robbins, and we pay Ace Robbins and we deduct the cost from their monthly check. But that saves them the tax, but they can file and get that status for themselves.
Correct, and then they can go wherever they want and get the cheapest price and be tax exempt.
You had a question, but please come up to the microphone so everybody can hear you.
If you're saying that you're going to give us 28 cents and now we have to put cameras in all our vehicles, I don't think that's going to pan out. We're not going to make any more money. I mean, that increase you're giving us is going to have to be all put into the cameras. Because myself, I have 9 buses, and I got a price, and it's going to be over $4,000 for each camera.
Are the cameras, I'm assuming, are required? They're a state requirement? I mean, I realize why we have them, but I'm just wondering.
We have them, so if you have an issue on the bus, we can see what actually happened.
Yeah, I know what they're for. I just wondered if it was also what the requirement is.
The camera, I'll tell you, the cameras benefit not only the district, but the contractors and the drivers
Yeah,
also.
I know,
I mean,
yeah.
it really does.
There's no legal requirement to have cameras, but it's really, really best practice all the way around.
I mean, overall, going to the 28 cents increases the cost to the school district $170,000.
Not all the buses, some of the new buses. Here, I don't have the list on me, but just to answer, I assume I don't assume, I know this. A lot of the buses have cameras already. If we have something in our contractual language that says a bus needs a camera, there certainly are buses, Karen and I talked about this, that don't have cameras that are gonna need to get them. Or if there's a camera that's not working, they're gonna have to get a working camera in there. But if there's a current working camera in that bus, then it's fine. It just needs a disc that we can read.
If there's a current working camera in the bus, who owns the camera?
Well, right now, we're doing all the camera stuff in the
So
bus.
we own the camera. If we have, put it on the contractors,
We'd have to figure that out, yeah, because
we don't have a use for the cameras.
yeah, I was kind of getting to that discussion where like if we have cameras that we own that they're utilizing, we don't have any use for them, we'd have to discuss that more internally, but
I mean, I would be leaning towards the thought of, is there a reason we can't just,
so that's why Paul and I were just talking over here, like they can keep the cameras on the bus.
yeah, that'd be my thought.
Yeah.
So you got 9 buses, do you have cameras on them now? One doesn't, so you have to buy cameras for one bus.
Yeah, we wouldn't strip those cameras out for no reason and take them back and make you buy them again. Like if they're on there, they're on there.
And now the final recommendation I was hearing, I just said that, by having the contractors file to get their own tax status to not pay the state taxes on the fuel.
Yeah,
That's
and they
right.
can become tax exempt, and then again, they can go wherever they want for fuel then at the cheapest price.
Yeah.
It'll still be tax
Ace
exempt.
Robbins is not always the cheapest.
Yeah, and that's currently who we utilize, and then they reimburse us back and stuff. But yeah, their prices fluctuate depending where you go.
We take the fuel away, I'm out.
I'm sorry, Roger, I couldn't hear you.
We take the fuel away, I'm out. I don't want nothing to do with it. You're gonna get fuel cheaper than where I'm getting it now. No way. That's just my opinion. don't
Yeah,
think
I
the rest-
understand that. But for us, it's a considerable amount of office time.
You're saying you're not gonna get fuel cheaper than where you're getting it now, you're getting it from Ace
Nope.
Rollins now?
Nope.
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood that, I was gonna say it.
Dr. Babola, Kerry, do you have any
No,
thoughts?
Phil, I like the proposal you made with the graduated fuel reimbursement, the 28, 29, and 30, with everything else. I like that idea.
Okay. What about the
I
cameras?
agree. I didn't hear what the comments were from the audience, though.
Well, we had a comment was concern about not running the fuel through the district. And
Okay.
them having to actually file and get their own tax status to not have to pay the fuel tax.
Okay, understood. I agree. I like the incremental increase.
Okay, you're good with the increase. What about the cameras? That's a recommendation from the administration.
Yeah, as long as we own the cameras and they're already there, I don't see why, like, there's no reason for us to strip them off. So that makes sense to me. I just would like to see that there's a plan to periodically check and make sure that the cameras are working. I know you're intending to have language in the contract, but I would hate to see something happen and find out a camera isn't working. And I only say that because I am not technologically inclined. So I would struggle with managing a camera myself. So I think it's important seeing out my direction. There was a driver that went around a bus on the exit side recently. So, it's important that we are monitoring what's going on for the safety of the kids so that we can, catch these impatient drivers that are putting our drivers and our kids at risk, because I do not want to see a tragedy happen.
Okay, so we've got agreement on the phased-in mileage and the cameras. Should I make that a recommendation to the board for the next month's meeting?
Yeah, I think we could, I think that's something that we could certainly look at. I also think, Paul, like you said, we have to look at the efficiency of the bus routes, but that's something that doesn't have to be in the recommendation.
Okay. Definitely look at the efficiency of the bus routes then as well. Please come up to the microphone.
There's board members that aren't here and they can't hear you if you're not at the microphone.
So what happens if the school bus, the camera doesn't work? Is the bus parked? Brian has 9 buses, his cameras don't work. Is he gonna need to buy 9 more buses? It's not efficient. You guys bought the cameras, they're yours. Keep the responsibility to yourselves up there. That and the radios. We didn't want them originally. You guys said that they would always be yours clear back in the 90s. So we can't afford your cameras. You're not paying us enough to pay the payment, let alone make all this other stuff.
Okay. Well, we've got a recommendation on the phased-in mileage increase. Members agree on the cameras, and to look at the efficiency and take your recommendations. That's modeling that has to be done by you guys. There's no way we can come up with that. So however it works, you work that out.
Yep, not a problem.
We'll bring it.
What is the cost of our cameras like right now? We own them now, right? But not on every bus, or?
It's expensive.
It's expensive.
Because typically we do install them on backup buses. So there's a lot. I mean,
Would you say we install them what? On backup
On the
buses?
backup
like
buses
if
also.
they have a bus that's not on the road,
Yeah.
right? Karen, am I saying that correctly? I mean, so we have radios and cameras on buses that, if every bus is operating perfectly and there's no other runs during the day, that may not be utilized.
In answer to the statement that was brought up, how often do our cameras break down? I mean, do we have a lot of cameras breaking down, guys?
We have more issues with SD cards than the actual camera systems.
It's when we pull the card, Dr. Probolis, a lot of times they don't read. Now, the cameras that are in a lot of the buses are ProVision cameras. We met with the company, Karen and I, probably 2 months ago, Karen, right? A month ago. And at one point, the district, not pointing blame, but just bought a cheaper version of the scan discs. And we were informed that because they're not compatible with the ProVision cameras, sometimes they don't read or work when they're pulled.
So the card that goes in them is
The card, yeah.
is the issue.
Now, we did just order in bulk new ProVision cards to go with the ProVision cameras.
I mean, usually those, if they're anything like cards that go into digital cameras, the cards actually aren't particularly expensive.
Yeah, we got, Karen, how many did we get? 88. Yeah. So we have a good bulk amount right now.
Okay. Any other discussion on the recommendation?
No, I mean, we'll bring it forward and when the board wants to vote, they could, take it apart individually and then decide how to move forward.
Okay. And that's the only item on our agenda?
That's correct.
So, see nothing else but do business? Any other comments? Transportation.
Do we need to do the pledge again?
I think we took her off.
Okay, good. All right, we'll call this meeting to order, the special meeting of the Tunkhannock School Board for the purposes of board appointment.